No, it's Chris Middleton being out.
How is he really? Great.
If you need to do that, I can talk about different stuff.
Yeah, I'm going to have to update that. What's going on, everybody? We are live. Click the button. Boom! What's up, people? Live before lock, MLB edition, Sunday afternoon. It is afternoon. It's 12:03. That's exciting.
Technically, it is after noon. I like what you did there, Josh.
I feel good about it. Emac, what's going on? How you feeling today?
I'm good. I'm firing on all cylinders. I tried to go to bed early, but didn't fall asleep. But at least I was lying down, just staring at my phone. So that's I got my report. It said I look at my screen 3.5 hours a day.
Ooh, I got mine today too. Should I look at it and see if I beat you?
Let's see that.
I don't tend to be on my phone all that much, just because I'm on my computer instead.
Yes.
So if they gave me that one, it'd be like, you were on your screen 16 hours a day.
Absolutely. So mine is because I that's what I use to read at night. I don't have an iPad or a Kindle. My wife has both and all sorts of other crap. But I'm looking at sports, watching box scores, reading Deadspin, and stuff like that. So
I was at 2 hours and 1 minute per day.
That's pretty solid. Rarely do I look at it during the day, and I hate to watch sports with my phone. I like to have my laptop with me. Gotcha. So mine is truly, it's all just reading because I don't use it. I can't stand typing on it, so I don't use it for emails either.
Who in the world is going to play for the Bucks today is a decent question, but that's not what we're here for. We are here for baseball. Live before lock is the promo code, 50% off your first month with us. Any monthly package you choose, including packages with Fantasy Cruncher. If you're looking to check us out, Live before lock is the promo code that you want to use. I am going to be updating some NBA. Wow, Bucks list starters as Frazier, Brown, Bonzi, Colson, Wilson, and Lopez today. Fantastic. Hell of a roster there for the Bucks. I only know that Colson is a person because I did the minutes earlier today. But let's talk baseball. I'm going to throw it to you for a little bit out of the gate.
Sure.
When I finish these minutes. First game up on the slate, the New York Yankees and the Baltimore Orioles. 5.4 run implied total for the Yanks, 3.1 for the O's. It's a 74% chance to win for the Yankees. J.A. Happ going for New York. Dylan Bundy going for Baltimore. And this game is going to be pretty interesting. There's some weather. So, Emac, talk to me about this one.
Absolutely. So here's kind of this. This is the perfect storm, if you will. No pun intended there. But we've got the New York Yankees taking on Dylan Bundy. This is the third and final game of this particular stand. These teams play 19 games during the year. The Yankees will be hosting the Orioles 2 more times. If they want to postpone this, they will. You won't see a ton of doubleheaders for the first month of the season. The main reason being is the pitchers aren't all stretched out, and it just it causes a lot of issues because they aren't carrying as many in the bullpen. Oftentimes, they're carrying an extra reliever or whatever, but there's too high of a risk of injury. So you generally don't look. Aren't going to expect a lot of doubleheaders till we get to the end of April. So anything that they do now, they're going to punt to June, July, sometimes even August, depending on what it is. Now, that being said, this game is all but assuredly going to start in a delay. What are we going to do about that? Well, once the lineup lock happens, our players are locked. So we have to, or once first pitch officially passes, our players are going to be locked. So you've got to decide what you want to do. So I wrote this up. I said, this is where our battle of wits begins with Mother Nature, game theory, and our own risk tolerance. Now, what risk tolerance? Well, the Yankees have a 5.6 implied run total, which is damn near insane at this point in the season. Yeah. So we have Dylan Bundy, who in 31 starts last year managed to allow a league-leading 41 home runs. On the other hand, he did have 184 strikeouts in 171 and 2/3 innings. So he
gave up even more than that too. He gave up a couple in a game that got canceled.
Yes,
as well. The only reason I know that is because I think Jake picked Benintendi in our home run contest and got no credit for it because the game ended up not counting. I think Bundy got bombed in that one and it just ended. But anyway, sorry to cut you off.
No worries at all.
It was even worse than it seemed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he had multiple games where he didn't make it out of the second inning and had 6 or more earned runs. I think he did that in 2 different starts. So he was a guy that initially we thought was something to do with the pitch mix. Adam follows this a lot. We thought it might have to do with the catcher. At this point, who knows? So he's had a whole offseason to potentially clear his head. And last year he still had a 24.5% strikeout rate. That's great. But now let's look at the Yankees for a second. Just looking at the heart of their order, this is like it's a home run derby contest at this point. You've got Aaron Judge, who over his last 900 at bats has a 420 WOBA and a 313 ISO. That's like top of the entire league. Giancarlo Stanton, hey, remember him? He hit some home runs. He's got a 370, 270. Luke Voigt, just in 200 at-bats, but he's got a 380, 230. Miguel Andujar in 450 at-bats has a 370, 230. And then Gary Sanchez, their catcher, has a 330 WOBA. Not great, but he's got a 230 ISO, which is elite. So you've got the heart of their order is averaging a 255 isolated power, or 2 through 6 is averaging that. That's nuts, Josh. That is just nuts.
It's a terrifying centerpiece of this order, man. There's so much power. There's so much power.
I'm laughing. Chat says they think I'm coked out. Well, I finished. I had a Diet Pepsi, but as you can see, the glass is empty. So now I have some refreshing water. Apparently, people are telling me that soda is bad for you, Josh.
Evidently.
So I'm trying to take that to heart.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
I've had 3 already today.
I've had 3 already, but I'm switching to soda a little earlier than normal today. But that's what it is for the Yankees. So, I mean, and hey, we haven't even mentioned Gardner, Bird, Gleyber Torres, and DJ LeMahieu, who can get the bat on the ball. So this is a phenomenal matchup. But what's going to happen with the weather? Are people going to go to this game? Are they not? This is all the game of chicken. On the other side, and Josh, if you're ready, we can sort of turn this over to you a little bit. We've got J.A. Happ, who he's been really, really good over the last couple seasons. He's he had time with Toronto. I think he did a run with the Mariners. Now he's with the Yankees, but he has been reasonably good at somewhat limiting his fly balls compared to where he was earlier in his career. He's done really good with the ground balls. It's not elite, but he's kind of made a transformation. His walk rate over the last 2 seasons is a combined against lefties and righties. That's 1,300 plate appearances, is 7.1. That's pretty solid. 25% strikeout rate. That's awesome. And if you look over at the Orioles, you're just seeing a lot of red, as in these guys aren't that great, but they're priced like they're facing an ace, and they're priced like combined they have 1,000 plate appearances against lefties over the last 2 seasons, because they do, Josh, because they do.
This O's team is scaring the hell out of me.
4 players with less than 70 plate appearances against lefties over the last 2 seasons. They're young. They're babies.
Yeah. I'm going to Happ. He is my second most exposed pitcher on FanDuel. I'm only playing on FanDuel, FYI, everybody. Got to wait till the NBA season is over before I could play both sites, but I can't do NBA projections and play both sites of MLB. I'll die. Yankees look fantastic. I am treating this game as if it plays late. So I'm not limiting any exposure to anything here. It's really hard for me to overlook the Yanks. They can break this slate if Bundy starts serving them up like he normally does. So as of right now, on my most recent crunch, J.A. Happ is my second most exposed pitcher. The Yankees are my most exposed stack. But here's the really, really interesting piece. I am getting a decent amount of Orioles stacks. And I know, not really something that I want to hang my hat on, but they're not getting any ownership, and they really shouldn't get all that much ownership. We have 5 guys in their lineup at the flat minimum on FanDuel, with another at 2,100 and no one's above 2,800. So I'm getting to them sort of as a way to hedge against J.A. Happ's ownership, and I'm using them as a conduit to get to some other things. I'm not comfortable with it whatsoever, but their prices are too cheap, and they perform better than those price tags more often than not because of how low they are.
Yeah, and that's we were talking a little bit about it beforehand. It's if you start thinking about it as price per plate appearance, that's something that's very important. It's sort of when you think about, sometimes we'll say it with wide receivers, price per target, running backs, price per touch. If you start to put it in that sort of perspective, and you remember that baseball is not a volume-based sport, it's event-driven, and you know your guys are going to have 4, maybe 5 at bats, and some of them that have these tasty platoon matchups may only get 3, depending on how long the pitcher stays in and how bad they are against the other handedness of pitchers. So it's something to really consider, and anybody can run into one. Let's see. Last night we saw, or was it 2 nights ago, Chris Sale and who was it for the Was it not the Dodgers?
I have no memory of anything. So
anyway, Monday, two of the top 2 aces combined for 7 in a third inning, 7 home runs allowed, and 14 earned runs. Last night, Mike Leake essentially shut down the Boston Red Sox. He had 7 strikeouts. He's had more than 7 strikeouts like 15 times in his last 100 starts. Weird stuff happens in baseball. There's outliers all over the place. So it's just, you have to understand this. You have to be willing to embrace the variance. And now we throw weather into that too. It's just, you need to have a particular approach that kind of stick to for the various scenarios that happen in baseball.
Let's just sum up these Yanks and Orioles real quick, and let's move on to the next game. This is the most important game to talk about just because of the Yanks total and the weather concerns. We don't have the same sort of stuff to talk about for most of these games.
And some we're just going to literally fly right through because we're going to hate the offense. So.
Yep. How do you feel about the Yanks bats?
I'm playing this as if the game's going to get in. If it doesn't, I'm fine with that. At this point in the season, I'm not playing cash games because right now I'm playing 4 sports with volume, and I'm throwing in a 5th today. It's called NASCAR. So I am just accepting that I'm playing low dollar tournaments. I'm not getting too crazy with what I'm attempting to target or not target. I'm set it up with my crunches. I'm running 4-3 stacks, and then I'm not going to fight it with who's coming in. I'll change the pitchers. I'll get the pitchers where I want them to, and I'll just let the chips fall where they may with the hitters at this point. So some of them won't be the most optimal stacks. I'll start doing that more week after next. But at this point in the season, everything's a wild card. At this point in the season, we don't have pitchers trends yet. We're going off numbers that are 6, 12 months old, sort of stuff. So I don't mind embracing that kind of risk now.
Okay. Do you have any? Are you going to Orioles bats?
So I want
for punishment like me.
Yeah, I wanted to look and see how that was happening. I haven't mucked around with setting the top end pitchers a little higher, but when I ran my first crunch, and right now I'm only in, I thought I had signed up for more. I'm only in 60 lineups or 60 entries, so I'm going to try to get that in or get that number up. But I wanted to see where my crunch was going to go here. So as I've run it and I'm looking at my stacks, currently I am getting a ton of Toronto, who we'll talk about.
Yep.
The Yankees are number 2 and these are 4-man stacks. So Toronto at 30%, Yankees at 28%. Toronto's at 30% for my 3-man stacks. The Yankees are at 18%. So those are the 2 teams that are really, really popping for me. Now I'm also getting some pitchers I don't want because I didn't do anything to cap them. So I'm running into Sandy Alcantara, George or Jorge Lopez, etc. So I'm going to tweak this a little bit. I'm guessing those numbers might come down somewhat, and the Baltimore Oriole numbers will go up, is my guess. But I'm looking at it right now, and I only have 2 Baltimore Oriole 3-man stacks, no 4-man stacks.
Okie doke. Well, let's move on to those Blue Jays that we were talking about. Oh, by the way, I love Stanton today. That should be no surprise.
Yeah,
I always do.
Anybody wearing pinstripes, Josh?
He's my top play in this game. And you wouldn't expect to say something like this because I don't like much of the Orioles. The only guy in the Orioles lineup that has a weighted runs created plus from Steamer above 100 is Trey Mancini. But Jonathan VR leading off for the Orioles, 2,700. That's a really, at least on FanDuel, 3,700 on DK. That $2,700 price for a leadoff hitter in this spot looks really good to me. I think he's a really nice value. better against lefties than righties as well. Okay. The Blue Jays. The other big total on today's slate, 4.9 runs for the Jays, 4.1 for the Tigers. It's a 59% chance to win for the Jays. Trent Thornton going for Toronto. Matt Moore going for the Tigers. I'm getting quite a bit of Thornton here on FanDuel. He is just $6,000. Projects for an 8.3K per nine from Steamer, 2.1 walks per nine, and a 3.99 FIP. That is not bad. That is a slightly above average pitcher. Tigers have lots of swing and miss. Lots of dudes in like the mid 20s of strikeout rate. Hicks, Matuk, Candelario, all 26, 20. Nico Goodrum, 26%. There's a lot of strikeouts to be had here. So I actually like Thornton as a pay down option on FanDuel, which is not something I do all that often. Yanks game is delayed, by the way.
Yeah, I just saw that one come through. I'm not getting very much Thornton. And so here's the other interesting thing. I was not expecting to see this many unheralded rookie types in day 3 and 4 of the season already. I mean, here we are with, the Padres are starting their second guy making his debut. They had a guy last night that was okay. You've got Thornton here. We've had a couple others sprinkled in. So generally, I like to have more time to look and see what they're going to do. For me, it's just a price play at this point. So if I'm getting much, if any, of Thornton, let me go see what I've got here on DK. I've only got him at 2%, and he's 5,900. So, okay. Sorry, I'm choking up because it's emotional here. But I've got 33% Lucas Giolito. I'm going to tamp that down. I got 25% Sandy Alcantara. I'm going to tamp that down. I don't dislike Thornton, and a lot of it has to do with the Tigers lineup, as you mentioned. It's just not that imposing. We've heard that this year that Miguel Cabrera is not going to play through pain. He's been dinged up throughout the year, the last couple seasons. I mean, so it's just something, in this one, Hicks much better against lefties. Matuk, as you mentioned, better against lefties. And then that's what their 5 and 6 hitter. Their 8 and 9 hitter are non-existent. So if he can make it through the top 4 or 5, he'll be just fine. I'm hoping for two runs through the rotation. If he can get the 5 innings, 2 earned runs, 2 or 3 strikeouts, that to me feels like like a 75% outcome. I'd be comfortable with that at his price point.
I thought he was more stretched out than he was.
I usually don't think of rookies going more than 5 innings, just because these are kind of what they call stressor pitches. It's their first time.
Yeah,
they're amped up. They're probably overthrowing. The adrenaline's going to be going nonstop for it probably started last night before they went to bed. So I get a little nervous about that, unless they're a hard throwing lefty that's already made a dozen starts in the minors.
Yeah, I think I probably need to walk his innings back a little bit. I had him in for 5 2/3. Feeling like that might be a little high. He was fine last year, but you do make a good point. He might not be out there long enough today. I really like that price tag on FanDuel just because it's clearly not like it's.
Oh yeah, and if this was a July or August start, I would think the 5 2/3 is totally fine.
Yeah, I'm gonna drop it to 5 1/3.
Enough can go sideways there. So,
Blue Jays bats, they are popular. Chalkiest stack on FanDuel today. I completely understand it. I'm doing the exact same thing as the public. This one I'm actually following. I would like to have the Jays. Again, I think they are too cheap on FanDuel. They fit really well. Justin Smoke grading out really well for me. Danny Jansen leading off is a really, really nice play. Only 2,200. I'm going to be clubbing the Jays just like the public. How do you feel?
I'm fine with it. I think you can add Brandon Drury in there as well. 2,200 on FanDuel, 35 on DK, 63 on Fantasy Draft. Somehow Yahoo has him at 14. I really don't like that price point there. But Smoke, probably one of my top 3 guys today. Jansen, I think you're absolutely right. He's discounted particularly on FanDuel. you can knock out that catcher spot. I almost said center. We're doing too many sports. You can knock out that catcher spot there with the guy batting leadoff. Sure, why not? I think Lourdes Gurriel, who's a talented guy. I think Teoscar Hernandez definitely has some power. We saw him exhibit that last year. And then Grichuk, who I generally like better in righty-righty matchups, he has solid power against lefties. It just hasn't had a ton of a track record because he was with the Cardinals for so long, and they focused on what he did best. So,
yeah, Grichuk grades out as the second best play for me on FanDuel behind Jansen. For the Jays, they would be focuses for me. Do you have any interest in the Tigers? Candelario, Castellanos, Nico Goodrum into the double digits in ownership. Matchup with Trent Thornton. I assume we both don't have any real interest in Matt Moore.
Actually, none whatsoever for Moore. He just gets hammered. You remember last year in Texas, he was kind of coming out of the bullpen a little bit, but he did make 12 starts, 6.8 ERA, 1.7 WHIP. That's just god awful. Yeah, it was Texas. If any of you remember fondly some decent starts for him, they were probably while he was in San Francisco going against watered down San Diego Padres lineups. So we're not getting that at all today. I'd steer far, far clear away from Moore. He's one of those guys where rarely do I put zeros on my pitchers, but I would be shocked if he came in at more than 1 or 2 or 3%. But the reason I don't put zeros on him is that's how you end up like who wanted to play Odorizzi the other day?
Right.
Oh, shit. We should be paying attention to a game where it's like freezing and any pitcher plays because it's harder than hell to hit with any power whatsoever when it's cold because the bat stings your hands so darn bad as one of the main reasons. But, I ended up having some nice lineups where he randomly was my SP2 and I had some good stacks with him. So I hate shutting anybody out because it's baseball and Moore's going to have 10 okay starts. He's going to have 10 garbage fire starts. His other 10 probably will lean towards garbage fire, assuming he gets 30 starts this year. But those 10, I mean, if he has, quote, his stuff, he'll get us a quality start with a handful of strikeouts, and there's nothing wrong with that. Who knows when that's going to show up? Probably against the Yankees in Yankee Stadium. I don't
know. If you're looking for one specific Tiger bat, I would say Candelario would be the guy I'd recommend most, at least on FanDuel. On DK, it's probably Miggy.
I think that's fair. And they're top 4. I mean, they're adequate hitters. There's so many other better spots today. So that's it. I'm going to drop, for those of the people that are in front of the paywall, a little free article in front. Here, it's our Spotlight hitters and stacks article. Josh, I break down a couple of main slate stacks and then a late slate stack.
There you go.
For those of you guys. An ex-Cough stack. I love you, buddy. But yeah, cold weather. I'm saying it simply that the bat stings. It's not fun. It's harder. Everything moves. Your body's just not excited to it. And it's literally approaching low 30s in some of these spots. So there's 2 games where it's not going to get into the 40s today. That really affects things because, especially for a lot of these players, because remember, about half of their games, if not more, are played indoors or at least in nice weather. And then a quarter of them are probably played at 80 degrees plus. So this is it's one of those extremes. It's not fun. Nobody really wants to be outside in the cold.
Here we go. Next game up, Marlins and Rockies. 3.3 run implied total for the Marlins, 4.2 for the Rockies. The 60% chance to win for the Rocks. Sandy Alcantara going for Miami. John Gray going for Colorado. I don't know about you, but John Gray is my guy today. Highest exposed pitcher. Following it. I'm a huge John Gray fan. I am a big believer in advanced stats, and Gray was fantastic last year. Getting sent down, be damned. Just super unlucky in my opinion. So I love John Gray. I'm loading up.
I'm completely on board with you there. He gets a Marlins lineup that is just not going to be good.
No.
Get used to us saying that this season. We know that Marlins Park is definitely pitcher friendly. I haven't seen if they're going to have the roof open. They try to more often in the spring. I know they did. I think they did yesterday or Friday. Again, the days are all blending together here. That will, make it less of a pitcher's park, but that doesn't really matter because it's not going to help a bunch of these Marlins players. But the one thing that you want to think about is Miami does have the retractable roof, and there are occasions where even in the steamy, hot days, if they're running some promotion or something and it's not getting, a patented Miami rainstorm, they'll open it on a random day, and all of a sudden you're like, holy hell, this is not a pitcher's park. They are out there in some pretty good humidity. So just file that one away. That doesn't happen more than 2 or 3 times a year, but when it does, if you can zig when the others are zagging, this is one of your little bonuses. But if we look at their up and down their lineup, I got nothing, Josh. They're competent hitters. Neil Walker and Castro both on the downside of their career. Anderson getting a little bit better, but not going to scare anybody. He doesn't have any power. And then Alfaro, O'Brien, Brinson, yeah, these are afterthoughts. Brinson might as well be like a pitcher hitting. He's not great.
No, so, outside of rostering Gray, I don't really have any interest in this entire game.
They did say the roof's open, so let me go look and see what the weather is. And here's the other thing that's interesting is you want to be careful on some of the sites that you use that have baseball. Like some of them will say, it's a dome. Well, they're only worried about rain or postponements.
Yeah.
So they'll classify it as a dome, but if it's open or closed, it really affects things. Arizona's good about it. They usually announce when it's going to be, but they've got that humidifier there again that really impacted things last season. Let me see here. So what is it in Miami? So Miami right now is it's 80 degrees.
There we go.
So that is a nice. That's not changing my love for Gray today. He doesn't have to deal with bad weather, and he doesn't have to deal with fearsome pitching. So I'm going to roll with him, but that's different than it being 72 and in a controlled environment. So.
Yeah, I can't get to much of anything here. Certainly nothing from the Marlins of value on the Rockies side, at least from a bats perspective. Blackman and Dahl hitting 1-2 against a righty is pretty appealing to me. Opportunities for additional plate appearances there. I don't get the sense that I would be stacking this team up very aggressively. They're just kind of there. I'll basically have shares of almost every team, but this is not a place where I'm putting in any volume outside of John Gray.
Yep, I would agree. And they're asking in the premium chat, would we fade Gray? No, not today. Not today.
No. Rays and Astros, 4-run implied total for the Rays, 4-run implied total for the Stros, 50-50 spot. Yanni Chirinos going for the Rays, Wade Miley going for the Astros. I don't really care too much about either of these pitchers. Chirinos was fun last year to get in situations where he was coming in like the second inning and his ownership was getting depressed. He's a fine pitcher. Wade Miley is a slightly below average pitcher. I don't want either one of these guys. I don't even really have much interest in the bats here. Really hard for me to ever say that I have no interest in the top of the Astros order just because their talent is fantastic, but prices are high. Nothing stands out as a fantastic play. I'd say Avisail Garcia would be my favorite play on the Rays side, George Springer on the Astros side, but this is just another game with a mild implied total that just doesn't catch my eye.
I would concur with that.
Get to see Carlos Correa today, though. Finally. Had to happen eventually.
We do. It's the cool weather that should help him out somewhat. I was reading something there. What has there been 5 or 6 runs scored so far in this series? It's something wildly low.
Well, I hope they don't score a bunch today either, because I'm not going to have much. Exposure to this game is really difficult for me. I don't mind getting to the Astros, but it's not as if Yanni is like some gas can.
Sorry, you said I'm sorry, you said Carlos Correa. I was thinking Carlos Carrasco because I was setting pitchers percentages here.
Gotcha.
My bad. But to answer your question, yeah, not a lot from this game for me either.
Anybody getting any crazy ownership? Not really. Altuve on DK, Alex Bregman on DK, Tommy Pham on DK. Nothing higher than 11% on FanDuel. This is just pretty balanced. I really do like Springer, though, leading off on FanDuel. That would be my fave. I'll probably get him a little bit as a one-off.
Yeah, the only other guy I'm seeing in this would be to not pick Jansen for Toronto is Mike Zunino. Okay. Good power against lefties, but it's either power or strikeout, even against Wade Miley.
Okie dokie. I think we should move on. Let me look at these stacks actually and see how much I have of them. Rays and Astros. I have what amounts to 0 Rays. I have just 6%. Well, technically 3% Astros, so I'm not on this game.
I'm running mine right now because I've entered some more contests. I've tamped down some of my pitchers. And, I'm getting a couple more. I got a couple Rocky stacks I see up near the top here. Houston. Yep, this isn't going to be very exciting. Now this is the fun part where I start tweaking with where some of the stacks are coming in. So 4-man stacks. I've got out of my 80 lineups now, I've got 3 Houston 4-man stacks and 2 Houston 3-man stacks. So not very much. Toronto and New York are carrying the day at 30 and 25% respectively for my 4-mans. The same story there with 3-mans, and then it's mixing and matching. Nobody over 10% from any other team. Most of them are in the 5 to 7% range. So.
Good to know. We'll talk Reds and Pirates. That's a fun one.
Yes, that was one I wrote up yesterday and revamped to write up again today because I have some thoughts on this one.
4.2 run implied total for the Reds, 3.8 for the Pirates. It's a 54% chance to win for Cincinnati. Sonny Gray. A lot of gray today. Sonny Gray going for Cincinnati. Trevor Williams going for Pittsburgh. I thought that I might get more Sonny Gray than I'm getting, but I only have 3% right now. Just not getting there. Not getting to Trevor Williams at all. So how does pitching feel for you in this one?
All right, so on DK, since that's the only one I'm playing, I thought I would get more Sonny Gray because the 2-pitcher side, I'm at 14%. I'm getting 40% Patrick Corbin, which was kind of surprising me a little bit here, but he's projecting out very nicely, and he's not extremely overly priced. I like Sonny Gray as an SP2. I think in this particular matchup on this particular slate, he's a fringe SP1, depending on how you feel about John Gray, Pat Corbin, Happ, and Carrasco, who is not Correa, by the way. Just pointed that out for those following along at home. So depending on how you feel about those guys, all of a sudden you're like, okay, well, we can all agree those are probably the top 4. Now we're talking Sonny Gray. Who the hell knows what Michael Pineda is going to do? And then you've got some other, potential upside guys. So I really do like Gray here. I know Adam is very fond of him, and I highly respect what Adam does with his pitching research. Sonny Gray, has changed his approach and pitch mix somewhat. It seemed to be getting in his head last year a little bit with him just getting his ass kicked at home in Yankee Stadium. But I think I don't want any of the bats for Pittsburgh. And usually I really like to consider players at the Great American Ballpark. This is not that time of year. It's going to be in the where's my weather? I think it's going to be, at most, it'll be in the low 40s today. Okay. And that's the high. Yesterday it rained. We don't have to worry about rain at this point. Now, what I have said is there's a 4.5 implied run total here. You're not going to have to worry about this game being canceled. So all of a sudden you do have to give some consideration to the Reds. Now, Trevor Williams, decent pitcher. 1,300 batters in his career. He has a 4.7 xFIP, the 29% hard hit rate, just 115 ISO against lefties, 152 against righties. He does have an 81% contact rate. So what that means is he puts a lot of balls into play, but he doesn't give up a lot of home runs. But I'll have to see who's in the starting lineup here because I wrote this before I saw that.
I've got it here if you want me to let you know.
I'll get it here. We've got, so I like Schebler, Votto, Puig, and Suarez were 4 of the 5 that I wrote up.
Yep.
So I think those guys are all absolutely fine. I don't hate Kemp, but what we need, and this is what Adam and I talked about yesterday when in the similar situation, because hey, it was the same pitchers going. Now it's just dry, but 20 degrees cooler. You're going to need your guys to string together a couple doubles, and you're going to need to get lucky with someone popping a home run.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that on this. I think, what do we have, an 8-gamer right now? So it's not the best place, but depending on how you feel about weather in Yankee Stadium and how you feel about Toronto, Cincinnati probably grades out as the number 3 or number 4 stack.
I do have a little bit of Cincinnati here. 9-gamer, by the way.
9-gamer, thank you.
Yeah, Cincinnati coming in right now for me as my number 6 stack. Schebler on FanDuel and Puig on FanDuel grading out really, really well for me. It's pretty balanced on the DK side, but Schebler and Puig are pretty far ahead of everyone else. They will be core tenants of every red stack, and I'll probably be rotating through a lot of the Votto and Suarez, who's Jake's boy, Matt Kemp. But yeah, I really like the Reds' bats here today. Trevor Williams, not a guy that scares me all that much. I have a small amount of Pirates stacks, and it's really just a select group of 5 guys: Frazier, Marte, Dickerson, Bell, and Kang. Otherwise, I'm not super interested. I'm way more likely to be using the Pirates as a 3-man stack than I am a 4. That's really all I've got for Reds Pirates. A lot of these games are super innocuous. They're all a lot of vanilla ice cream, a lot of in between 3.8 and 4.2 implied totals. So it's certainly making the Yanks and Jays a clear draw.
Yeah, absolutely here. And of course, I hit Fantasy Cruncher, and it says page unresponsive. Do you want to wait or do you want to exit? No, I haven't uploaded my lineups yet. So I'll upload my lineups right now once that comes back to me. But before it froze, I was trying to see what my player mix was. But I do have Cincinnati as my number 3 stack for my number 3 4-man stack, and it is half of what I have for Toronto and for the Yankees, but it's double anybody else for the 4-man stacks, which makes sense because I'm running a 4-3 stack. So
yeah. We are just past the halfway point right now in games. Do me a favor, everybody. Hit that like button. Super helpful for us. I think we've got like around 1,000. We got 950 people in here right now. So thank you for joining us on this Sunday afternoon. A like won't hurt. It really makes things better for us down the line. So if you can throw us one of those, really appreciate it. You want to talk Nats?
Well, before I unfilter my filters, while I'm looking at them, Votto 16%, Puig, Schebler, and Peraza as the surprise one. They're all at 10% in my stacks with Tucker Barnhart, which I need to understand why I'm not getting more of some of these cheaper guys. So anyway, but there we are. So reasonable. I am now downloading my files, so I at least have live lineups. Josh, it's always important.
It is
important.
Yeah, apparently that matters. Having actual lineups in, you know? Who knew? I didn't. We'll go to some Nats. Nats and Mets. 3.9 run implied total for the Nats. 3.2 for the Mets. 58% chance to win for Washington. Pat Corbin going for the Nats. Zach Wheeler on the hill for the Mets. I like Corbin here. He was. I'm about to run another crunch. He was my number 3 exposed pitcher. Big fan. Huge swing and miss stuff. Lots of swing and miss in this Mets lineup. Whether that's lefty on lefty for Nimmo, Cano doesn't K all that much, but at least you're neutralizing him with the lefty. Peter Alonso strikes out a lot. J.D. Davis, Conforto. Keon Broxton's strikeout rate per steamer, 38%. I wish he was hitting leadoff. I'd like Pat Corbin even more. How do you feel about Corbin today?
I think he's fine. He was surprisingly he's coming in as my number one pitcher, and it just depends where I cap it to kind of force my core 4 or 5 pitchers here. But I've got him number one tied right now with Jon Gray, and they're both hitting my 45% cap that I have set.
Yeah, I'm a huge wow. For a second when you said 45% and he was hitting the cap, I was like, damn. And then I realized you were talking about DraftKings and there's 2 pitchers.
If he was on FanDuel, those guys, they'd probably be 20-25.
Right, yeah. So I was just like, my brain is just so into FanDuel. I was like, wow, that is a healthy stand. Not that I disagree with it or anything. Like, I'm going to have a lot of Corbin as well. But yeah, for a second, I was caught off guard. I'm going to have to talk to Dave at Fantasy Cruncher. Richie Martin Jr. is not a name that gets accepted, so I have to keep removing the junior.
Yes. And I think Richard Martin got kicked out as well when I was trying to load it today. So it's like, I was like, who names their kid Dick Martin?
Yeah, there were a couple days last year. It was like, hey, Dave, can you add these names to the list? He's like, yeah, why? I was like, because I don't want to change them. So it's easier if you add them.
It's nice having friends in high places.
It is. It's very nice. It's very nice. Do you have any interest in Zach Wheeler on the opposite side?
Not on this slate.
Yeah,
I don't. He's one of the many talented guys. Tomorrow we're going to talk about Steven Matz. The Mets have a healthy core of pitchers when healthy, but you want to pick their spots. And absolutely when they're going against the Marlins, but when they're going against pretty much anybody else in the NL East, you're probably not going to go to them. And that would be, of course, the Nationals, at least until somebody gets hurt, and the Phillies.
Okay.
So.
Oh, these names are killing me. So let's get Pete Alonso in to my FanDuel table. I assume he is Pete Alonso on every one of these. I changed my naming conventions in my sheet.
Pete Alonso Jr. or is he Pete Alonso?
Pete Alonso on DraftKings as well. What is he on Yahoo? Peter Alonso Esquire or something stupid. Every site's got to have something.
Yeah, I have a big giant Rosetta Stone, I call it. It's my lookup table, or it's in Excel, so it's a tab. But I run all the columns so I can standardize the names, and I have not done that yet this year. So that is what I will be doing this week. So that's why I'm not playing nearly as many lineups as I would be, because it's just like, crap, I can't branch out to the other sites if I'm going to have all the NAs and references popping up.
Yep, I'm slowly but surely adding every one of these names as I open it up and see oh, that guy's salary's not pulling through. Time to fix him. Wow, Pete Alonso's salary on Yahoo. Have you seen it? You're a Yahoo guy from time to time.
It's either going to be 7 or 15.
Add them together and you're still not there.
Oh my God.
Pete Alonso, a crisp $28.
What's Harper today?
Yeah. I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret. You shouldn't play Pete Alonso at $28 on Yahoo.
And this is no knock on Yahoo. I had a big hit there last year, and I love them, and I believe promo code Osmo will still get you $30 on your first deposit.
Yeah.
Your first DFS deposit. I've had a Yahoo fantasy account for 20 plus years, but if we can all be making your first deposit, if you use the promo code Osmo, you'll still get $30, and that comes in Yahoo player points, which you can use immediately in their contest. So throwing that out there. Shout out for them.
Yeah, shout out to Yahoo. They are excellent people. We might be talking about them more in the near future.
Yeah. I'm picking down what you're putting. Or I'm picking up what you're putting down.
I gotcha. I gotcha.
Winking a nod.
Yeah. How do you feel about the bats here? Nobody's really picking up much exposure. Turner, Rendon, always going to be mildly popular one-offs because of their positions. There's no real ownership going to this Mets offense. So is anything standing out from you on the bat side?
No, not at all. And I'm a Nats fan. I enjoy watching them. I think they're fun. I really like some of their young outfielders they've got coming up. But today, it's just we're not going to get there. So,
okie dokie. Let me click that button. 4-4. Let's run stacks. Yes. Yeah, I would like to have more here. I mean, we don't have anybody. Ahmed Rosario projected for 7% ownership on FanDuel is the highest of any Mets, and that's basically just because he's a shortstop.
Yeah, I mean, but Corbin's a good pitcher.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
He's got a high strikeout rate. He projects out as one of the top 3 guys or so today.
He projects as my number 1 pitcher for today.
Yeah, one thing I did want to call out with Jay Happ, there's still a chance that there could be an in-game delay, Josh. That's what's tempering me from Happ. So I'm going to put him down just 20 or 15%. I'm going to put him at 15%.
There you go. Yeah,
it's a great matchup.
Corbin actually might end up as my highest exposed pitcher now on my most recent crunch. Things are moving around as I'm making some changes. And I've got 29% Corbin. So your 40 isn't too crazy. I might be there on FanDuel on purpose. All righty. I think we have 2 games to go?
2 games.
3 games to go. 3 games to go. We'll get there. We'll get there.
I'm up to 99 lineups now, so I'm going to crunch that again, see what happens. Keep entering contests as they spawn here.
Brewers and Cardinals, 4.3 run implied total for the Brew Crew. 4.2 for the Cardinals. 52% chance to win for Milwaukee. Brewers are starting Corbin Burnson, apparently. Michael Wacha going for the Cardinals. Not really interested in Corbin Burnson. How many people do you think in chat know who Corbin Burnson is?
Outside of me and you, anybody, I bet 15% have it.
How many people have watched Rock and Jock?
If they knew, if they knew Major League,
yeah,
they might get it. I don't think anybody remembers him from LA Law. That's well beyond most people's wheelhouse at this point.
Yeah, that's for sure. I assume you're not going to Mr. Corbin, this particular Corbin. How do you feel about Michael Wacha? Waka?
Thank you, Fozzie, but I will be bare left at the fork in the road, is what I will say. No, there will be no Waka for me today.
No Waka Flocka? Does that one land for you?
I don't. That sounds familiar, but I don't know I don't know if that's a song or a saying. So
he is a rapper.
Oh, okay. Well, there we go. But close.
Kind of how I felt like that one was going to end.
But yeah. Did I do better than Adam? Is all I need to know.
Yeah. Well, once you dropped the LA Law reference, I knew Waka Flocka wasn't going to be one that popped up.
Yeah, it's a tough one. This is year 30 of me in fantasy baseball, Josh. So respect your elders.
Yeah. Play a fly in chat. I'm going to say it. Are you saying Jesus Christ can't hit a curveball? God, I love Major League. I'm going to watch that today.
I was going to say I need to watch that again.
This guy here is dead.
Well, cross him up.
Oh, man. We used to say that a lot at work. A buddy of mine, Wes. We spoke in Major League quotes for the longest time. So if we're not going to Corbin, we're not going to Michael Wacha. Are we going to the bats? Because I think the Cardinals look particularly tasty today.
Yes, I do like their top. Well, depending on how their lineup came out,
they are my number 5 stack as of right now.
That's about where they're coming in for me. I'm not getting a boatload, but I really don't hate it. I am going to be playing the 2:00 slate, and I suspect they will be number 1 for me on that slate, vying with Yelich, Shaw, and Moustakas on the short slate. But on the main slate, I much prefer the Redbirds here. I definitely think we can look to Carpenter, Goldie, Ozuna, and I don't mind double DeYoung here.
Yeah, I love this Cardinals team. Carpenter, Goldschmidt, Ozuna, all grading out really well on a dollar-for-dollar basis. I mean, Jose Martinez looks great. Paul DeJong looks great. I'm cool with Yadi Molina. He's obviously more often than not a more DK play since you don't have to play a catcher on FanDuel. But I'll be working my way through this entire order. I have no problem having part of the Cardinals. It's a place that's popping up for me. The price tags are really manageable. Because of the way pitching pricing is today, like it's a lot easier to get to more guys like Goldschmidt or some of the higher end bats. Wow, Christian Yelich is $5K on FanDuel. Whew. It's gonna take me a while to recalibrate my brain to baseball prices instead of basketball prices. I was like, man, that's a bargain. Christian Yelich should be 11.5, and I was like, oh, that's not how this works.
Yeah, he could hit his 4th home run in a row. What are you just to circle back as I'm making my lineup here, what did you end up doing with Pineda? I've got him in here at 10%. I think I don't wanna go much higher than that. He's capping out for me, though.
On who?
On Michael Pineda. Is he even on your single pitcher side, is he popping for you at all?
Not at all.
Okay, that's what I expected to hear, so I need to see what I'm doing because I'm getting too much. Okay, sorry, back to our
he came in one of my 350.
Okay.
7,700 on FanDuel. He's $200 cheaper than John Gray. John Gray is my second favorite pitcher on the slate, so I'm almost never going to get to Pineda in that scenario. Really, all of my pitcher exposure is kind of crumbled into Corbin, Happ, and Gray. Those are the 3 guys that grade out best for me. Obviously, Carlos Carrasco is good. I just don't see his upside the same for his price tag.
Yep, and that's where I'm pushing my guys to as well. Okay, thank you. Sorry.
Brewer stacks?
To derail that chat. Sorry.
No, you're good. Oh, Galvis scratched.
The Fredster.
And we have 12 minutes until lock.
We got time.
I'm going to go ahead and get that updated.
All right. So
we have the new lineup? Yeah, we do.
It just popped. So for those of you having fun here at home, there are a bunch of other slates today. This is one of the night for the first month or so. We'll get some nice Sunday 4 and 5 game slates. Once the weather starts getting hotter, they tend to start playing the games earlier in the day for Sundays. But it's nice that they've pushed things back a little bit because those Sunday slates get real thin since everybody has now chopped off the night game outside of Yahoo from their quote main slate. So enjoy this one. It's very robust because we'll have a whole stretch all summer of 3 and 4 game Sunday afternoon slates, which is a little tougher on the 2 pitcher sites.
That is true. Trying to update my stuff now. I'm fixing the stupid Blue Jays. You want to go to Minnesota? Let's talk about Michael Pineda.
Let's do that right now. So I was just trying to get a little bit ahead there because he was popping a little more than I thought. Pineda has had some really good numbers over the last couple years, but he's inconsistent. He's maddeningly inconsistent.
Don Mattingly?
Yeah, something like that. Sorry, I should have picked a different word. Wildly inconsistent, infuriatingly inconsistent. Anyway, he has all the talent in the world. He looks awesome the first 2 times through a lineup, and then it falls apart. Unless, of course, it falls apart in the
earlier than that. Yeah.
Yes. He's had that pine tar issue, et cetera. He was a Mariners guy for a long time, was traded to the Yankees. I forget the Mariners got who the hell they get, some catcher or something back. Both guys have kind of floundered. Pineda has had his moments. He does have double-digit strikeout upside. Yeah. Who knows when that's going to happen? Now, cold weather game. We're looking at Cleveland's offense, which is not as fearsome as it has been in the past, but they are able to, put together some solidly competent hitters with a little bit of pop. Even their guys down at the bottom, like Policki, Greg Allen, and Brad Miller, those guys have pop. They're veterans, been around forever. I don't mind getting him because this is a cold weather game. If this was in the summer and it was 80 degrees, I don't think I'd be looking to Pineda. Or if it was, 80 degrees and in Cleveland, I don't think I'd be looking for him. So,
yeah, he's just not popping up for me on FanDuel. Carrasco also not really popping up for me today. From a stacks perspective, Minnesota is pretty low for me. Cleveland pretty low. They're average or below average. It's a really unappealing game. It's a really unappealing implied total for all of it. I assumed I would get more of this game, but it basically just doesn't exist. And I like the Indians bats a little bit. Leonis Martin, Ramirez, Jake Bowers, Hanley, they all grade out really well, but there are just better options out there. So I will have probably 7 or 8 4-man Indian stacks, just enough in case this game goes crazy, but this is probably the least appealing game on the slate for me.
I would agree. I forced up a little bit extra Carrasco, but that's because it's a 2-pitcher site.
Yeah.
And by forcing, I mean I think I have him at 20% as my 4th or 5th owned pitcher.
Yeah, I would have much more of him on DraftKings than I'm getting on FanDuel because of the way rosters are set up. Final game. Royals and White Sox. 4.1 run implied total for the Royals, 3.9 for the Sox. 52% chance to win for the Royals. Jorge Lopez going for Kansas City. The thorn in my side, the bane of my existence. Luke Giolito going for the White Sox. He was just a fantastic roller coaster ride last year. Who knows what we're getting this year? I remember putting in some time with Adam on one of our process shows right after the Fan Vice acquisition, and we were like, oh, it looks like Luke Giolito has really made some changes. He's throwing this pitch better and that pitch better, and like, let's load up on him. 40% Giolito, lock it in. And he got bombed. Absolutely shellacked. So he had the pedigree, number 1 overall pick. This guy has the goods, but he has just not been able to put it together in a great way for the White Sox. It got better late in the season, but he projects in Steamer with a 5.35 FIP, 7.2 Ks per 9, and 4.5 walks. This man is a base runner machine. Are you going to Luke Giolito today? 5,300?
I do have a little bit. Let's look and see where he's at. He is at 10%. I did cap him at 10%. Now,
I have no issue with that as an SP2 because he does have electricity in his arm if it ever comes up.
So here's what I wrote up. This was one of my stack teams as well. So I said 8.5 implied run total for this game. I said, here's a spot where we have two teams that have some power, and while they may not make the best stacking options with the cooler weather in the mid to low 40s throughout the game, right-handed pitcher Lucas Giolito did allow the 15th most home runs last season, and while he has had flashes of brilliance, he has also imploded many a time. Over his 950 career batters faced, he is allowing a 190 ISO to both sides of the plate. On the other side, we have Jorge Lopez, who has had mixed results in the show. He's been up for part of 3 of the last 4 seasons, both as a starter in and out of the bullpen. Small sample size of 65 innings, but he has a 5.1 ERA, a 1.6 whip, and only a 6.5 K per 9 with a 9.5% walks rate, and he splits neutral. So I said this is a spot where you can kind of go home run hunting. I don't, just because it's so cold, I'm getting minuscule stacks here. When these teams meet again midsummer, late summer, and if this was the matchup, we'd be talking a lot about it, and I bet there'd be probably a 10.5 implied run total.
Yeah, this would be a very, very different game. As for stacks, I have Royals second worst for me. Well, I mean, technically, second worst of teams I got. Only the Mets below them. White Sox just a couple notches above, but these are all bottom end for me. I don't really have the pitching. I don't really have the hitting. It's really hard for me to care all that much about this game as well. If I'm picking out guys that I would like, on the White Sox side, Lurie Garcia leading off on FanDuel looks nice. José Abreu for sure has some pop. Everyone knows that. I like Abreu more on DK, though. Wow, lots of ownership for Whit Merrifield on DraftKings. We might see a couple stolen bases in this one.
Whit does have some serious stolen base upside. I've got to give that to him. I did not really see that developing along with doubles power, and he turned a few of them into home runs last year. So he is becoming a player that will be on somebody else's roster, somebody else's franchise in the next 2 seasons. Yeah. Sorry, Royals fans. Sorry.
And Billy Hamilton in this one. We might be swiping a million bags today.
Oh, I forgot that's where. Yeah, I forgot about Billy.
Mondesi too. They're gonna be running. But yeah, this is not a spot where I'm getting a lot of exposure. That Royals lineup is pretty garbage. That whole team is not great. I miss Alex Gordon being like a prospect and somebody that I thought was going to be the greatest hitter in the history of the league. I was a very, very big proponent of Alex Gordon coming up. He was I used to play the PS2 game, college baseball, and we would sim it over and over again in college. And Alex Gordon was a part of that game. Him, Luke Weaver. Oh, God.
Luke Weaver.
I got really into college baseball for like 3 years while I was at school. All right, so we've got 3 minutes left. Let's hit the summary. Favorite stacks, top 3. Go ahead.
Yankees 1, Toronto 2, and I'm embracing the weather. And then let's go Cincinnati 3.
Okay, I will go Yankees 1, Blue Jays 2, Rockies 3 for me.
Okay.
Favorite pitcher, Pat Corbin?
Pat Corbin it is today. Pat Corbin followed up by the Grays. And then I don't hate J.A. Happ, but I'm worried about in-game delay, so I capped him at 15%. If there was no worry about me, if I thought they could start late and just play through, he'd be at 25% for me on DK.
Okay. Yeah, so for me on FanDuel, I have 28% Pat Corbin, 27% Gray, 25% Happ, and then just like assorted amounts of everybody else. I do feel a little weird not having more Carlos Carrasco, but baseball, I'm cool with it. I'm paying down a little bit. I think I can get a similar high end for less money. 2 minutes, everybody. If you don't have your lineups in yet, you better hustle. Anybody else anything else we want to touch on? We have, projections. If people are curious about our MLB product, projections directly from the boss man, Alex Osimo Baker. We have ownership projections. Articles from myself, Laffy, Adam, EMAC, dropping articles during this show. You can't beat it, guys. We've got it all. This next week is going to be really aggressive for us. The final week of basketball, regular season basketball. It's not like the content is going. I mean, video content is largely going away. But we will still have projections and rankings for the NBA and NHL all the way through the playoffs. But this next week, closing out NBA and NHL regular season. So we've got all 3 running. It's going to be a lot. Bear with us. We're cranking out as much as we possibly can over the next 7 days. Should be fun, though. I'm excited to just be all over the place, cheering for baseball players in a basketball game because I forget what I'm doing. Cannot wait.
I'm glad Jake's back so I can hand over the hockey show reins to him.
Yeah, Jake Hari, manager / owner of the Minnesota Jakes, will be making his way back to some MLB content shortly. He was enjoying himself a nice little vacation before he gets back in the swing of things for baseball. It feels weird. I haven't talked to Jake on a show in so long after talking to him every single day for 6 months.
Oh, hit that like button before you leave, fellas.
I feel like Jake and I broke up.
Yeah, well, reunited, and it will feel so good.
It really will. Yeah, hit that like button, everybody. We are locked right now. Thank you for joining us today. We almost hit the 1,000 mark on a Sunday, which is fantastic. I appreciate you guys being here. Live Before Lock is the promo code. If you want to join up with us, you get 50% off your first month. Tune in tomorrow. We will have a ton of shows and a ton of content covering the gamut. Basketball, baseball, hockey. I don't know if we have anything other sports going on Monday, but if we do, we're probably covering it. Enoch, you got anything else?
I do believe there's going to be an Eddie Fierce show today. He was mentioning that He was probably going to be on. So for those of you waiting around for that, it will happen an hour before the main slate, whenever it locks. I'm not playing the main slate basketball because I'm going to have dinner with one of my buddies who's flying into Dulles to go to a conference in Washington, D.C. So I'm going to meet him out there for dinner.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
That sounds fun. I just found out that I only slept 5 hours and 55 minutes last night with an average heart rate of 80 beats per minute. 20 heartbeats per minute higher than it normally is. So that's what happens when you drink alcohol, people.
Oh, mine doesn't have heartbeats. 6 hours and 53 minutes.
Yeah, 5:55. Apparently, I fell asleep at 5 minutes before 1. 2 shows in the book today. NBA projections are out.
Oh, are we picking home runs?
Do you want to?
Yeah, Spags wants us to do this, and he'll keeping track like you guys did last year, sprinkling in me and Jake as well, since we'll be doing some weekend shows together. So
okay, let me get my stuff loaded up. I deleted that table that I had because I was working on some more stuff.
He tracked it for yesterday.
I see. Well, I didn't get anything in the first game. I know that much, or the first day that I did this. So, alrighty, we need player names. Now I need... gotta make sure I grab the right column. You feel free to go first if you'd like.
Justin Smoke. The Smoke Monster.
Picked him a lot last year.
Yesterday I had Yelich, so I got one. And we discussed how I let you down both in baseball and whatever the 100-yard pick was. So not to fear. You got your due and proper about how I let you down when I was replacing you.
Whatever I just put in here cannot be right.
Yeah. And Spag said, doesn't matter, those counted.
Oh, that's troublesome. Why is Luke Duda in here twice? That makes me really nervous about how much Luke Duda I played without paying attention to it. All right, let's refresh. You are going with Smoke, you said?
The Smoke Monster.
Okay. Smoke coming out number 9 in my home run model today.
Oh, nice.
I think I'm going to do something fun for me. Yeah, I am. Oh, I'm excited for this. I'm going to take a Yankee. It's not Stanton. It's not Judge. It's not Gary Sanchez.
Voit?
Unavoidable. Luke Voit. Come
Fair.
on down. That's my dude. So Luke Voit, home run pick for today. Unavoidable, putting one in the cheap seats. There we go. Thank you for joining us, everybody. Emac, do you have anything else?
That'll do it for us.
Alrighty. Thanks for joining us, guys. We will be back. Well, Best Eddie Fear will be back later today. We will all be back tomorrow. So enjoy the rest of your weekend. Peace.